So what keeps bringing me back? What keeps pulling me in to Dungeons and Dragons? I mean, certainly it's the narrative. Certainly it's the ability to sit down with some friends, roll some dice, have some fun, and literally in that moment, create a world. Step out of this world, step out of space and time, and let's see what happens. But it's also the idea that you can play, you can explore D&D any way you like. And I encourage big games, small games, solo games. Like let's really jump in to that narrative. I got my start with Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, and one of the things that we looked at in a previous podcast was this idea that the edition you start with, and maybe it's right now, the current edition of D&D, maybe it was 3.x, that edition of D&D, that's your DNA. That kind of really shapes how you view the game and builds that narrative. I mean, for me, literal years and years and memories spent in Dragonlance. And I still regularly play Dragonlance. I love running Dragonlance campaigns. But when I step into that world, when I put on the red robes, it's literally like I'm transported back to those times in my life. So there's a lot of stuff going on with D&D. I want to ask the question, your most unfortunate, sad-faced Dungeons & Dragons character. I'm going to share with you mine. He did not live very long, but it was a valiant effort. And then, of course, in the comments, just to build that narrative, to step into your world, we'll jump in with your characters. So it was going to be a hardcore AD&D game, a single game module. Starting out at level 1, that's just kind of the module that we picked. And the idea was you sit down before the game starts and you roll up your character. No point buy. I mean, this is true AD&D rules. 3d6, that's what you get. Start with strength. Okay, then we move on to dexterity and just go down the stat line, and that's what you play. I was determined to play a magic user, aka a wizard. So I was hoping to get at least enough intelligence to allow me to cast spells or just even speak common. But while I didn't need the legendary intelligence for later levels, because it's not like we were going to go levels 5, 8, 10, 12 or beyond, I was happy. If I got enough intelligence to cast some spells, maybe get a little bit of an experience point bonus, then we're good. I can make the rest work. And I had told the party, this is what we're going to play. What it fed into the adventure was we grew up in Daggerford, and we were part of the militia. We knew all each other, and we kind of have the skills where that kind of just became level 1 adventurers, and we were tasked with protecting the town. So that was the narrative. It wasn't really stat driven. It was like, how did you grow up? What did you do? What have you become? So I was like, I'm going to be a magic user. Strength was average. I think it was like 10 or 11. Okay. We get to Constitution. Constitution was like 9. So no con bonus right away. Okay, I wasn't planning to play a paladin or a fighter. Don't have a lot of hit points for a magic user, but that's okay. I mean, I'd always like a con bonus, right? We always want the con bonus, but that's not going to be the focus. Everyone knew I was going to be playing a magic user. Wisdom was pretty good. Charisma, okay. Just really average stats, 12, 13, maybe a 14. I get to intelligence, I do a 14. Good enough. I really, if this was a character I was going to keep, I would have preferred a 16 or higher, naturally. But considering we're rolling 3d6, you get what you get. You're not upset unless you throw your dice across the room. That was good. Okay, so I've got my character. Roll for hit points. Talk about stress in D&D. Normally, on a side note as a DM, unless it's something very, very specific for the campaign, how I play is first level, you get your full complement of hit points, plus your con bonus. So this way, at least whatever character class you're playing, you got some life force behind it. But then, every time you level up, you get your con bonus, but you roll. You got to roll for it. You got one shot, and it has to be on the table. Falls off the table, playing a barbarian, rolling a d12, you get a 12, doesn't count. So you have to roll that. But this was AD&D rules. You roll even level 1 for hit points. 1d4 for a magic user, no con bonus. I roll a 1. I've got 1 hit point now. Okay, 1 hit point. Now we roll for spells, because starting out the idea is you learn how to cast some magic spells. But in AD&D, even Forgotten Realms or Proto-Forgotten Realms at the time, magic is very rare in terms of spells and scrolls and spell books. It's a very intimate, it's a very personal thing. So the idea is level 1, you don't just automatically, like current versions of D&D, you start off with like multiple spells and you got to roll for it. So I roll 1 first level spell. Now, I was naturally hoping for sleep or something with some area control, some crowd control, but if I've got magic missile or something like that, okay. Detect magic might be useful, but if it's something like read magic, well, you've got to do what you have to do. I get dancing lights, essentially it's a fascination spell. You have to make some saving throws, and maybe you'll be fascinated for like 1d4 turns. Not bad, for crowd control, that's good. I'm probably going to be using throwing daggers and slings. So that's not bad. Hit points are a problem, but that's not quite bad. So everyone else rolls up their characters. And the adventure, we're going to play it until the end, making certain decision paths along the way. We were starting real early in the morning, way too early for Fritz. But we were going to go probably till like 2, 3, 4 in the morning. I mean, we were going to just play all day. I was really looking forward to it. So the adventure starts out, we're part of a militia. Daggerford is attacked by lizard men. They capture some of the townsfolk. They take some supplies. They head into the marsh. Okay, we have to go after them and kind of track them down and find out, like, why did they attack? How did they attack? Because the defenses were down. And they seem to have kidnapped some very specific people. I mean, obviously it was grab whoever they could, but there were a couple of names on that list that seemed a little bit too targeted for lizard men, lizard folk. So that we've kind of got the background. So send out the militia, send out the new recruits, the neophytes, the newbies. We go in. And in the party, I was the support player. We had a cleric, which was good. We had a paladin, and we had a fighter, and we had a barbarian. So we were front loaded. We were front heavy, and I was all good. So we go into the marsh. Literally, we're in like the first 20 minutes of the game. First 10 minutes is like the DM doing a great job, the background, the narrative, and what do you want to do? So we go in. If you've ever played AD&D, and if not, if you have a chance to look at some of the PDFs, AD&D loves random tables. It loves just random for the sake of random. It feels like I'm playing a Games Workshop game. And I kind of enjoy it because as a DM, you never really know what's going to happen. And the random is themed. The classic example, and it's not... AD&D is no baby cakes. This is the real deal. There's no challenge rating. There's no we're challenge rating on the party 6, so we can't fight a dragon yet because we're not ready. AD&D just beats you. That's why this was a hardcore. There's no res. There's no healing surge. You're dead. And the classic is there's a table in the city encounters where if you find yourself wandering the city at night, you never want to do that in AD&D. You want to pay those, 6 copper for a room. You roll on this chart for encounters. And it could be rescue a noble. It could be you fight some bandits. It could be you fight some giant rats. It could be like you find this and that. But on that chart somewhere is like, you come across a vampire lord. And you're like, wait, so if I'm level 1 and there's no CR and there's no adjustments, I'm fighting a vampire lord? Like Strad's just kind of wandering around the city and sees you and you have to fight it. And you're dead, you're toast, you're done. I mean, I guess at that point, being a role-playing game, I'd throw down my weapons and offer to become a thrall. I have no other choice. So we go into, we track down the lizard men and we're navigating the swamp. And you kind of say where you want to move for how many turns. And every turn, the DM literally in the adventure module, it's a great adventure module, rolls to see if random stuff happens on the chart. Random encounters, you're going to fight something. So the first 10 minutes of the game, now we're 12 minutes into the game, random encounter, giant toad. So a giant toad leaps out across the party and randomly attacks, it gives you a little bit of AI in the monster, randomly attacks a party member. Surprise round, gets 1 free attack. Okay, so you look, then you roll for initiative. You look in the attacks and it says, if the attack hits, the frog kind of tries to hit you with its sticky tongue. If it hits and it manages to, when it hits, if it manages to kill the character or reduce the character to 0 hit points, you can kind of see where this is going. The character gets knocked out, gets swallowed whole, the frog leaps off, and you are dead. You are gone. Like your character is just done somewhere. So this thing leaps over. DM rolls, 1d8 to see who's getting hit in the party. I get hit, so it's going to be attacking me. My armor class is like 9. Counts down. Stacko to hit armor class 0, so it goes from 10 all the way down. -2, -3 is pretty good. Then you get the blurs and everything else up. But I didn't even have a dex bonus. I got like nothing. So literally, to hit me, the frog needs to roll like a 4 or higher. I'm praying for a 1. Like that's it. On the D20, I'm like, this is it. I get hit. We roll for damage. Well, you're rolling 1d6. I only have 1 hit point, and it's like the frog has like a +2 strength damage. The frog is stronger than me. It hits me, kills me, swallows me, leaps off. Hardcore D&D. That's it. I'm done. Like, we haven't even started the adventure, and I'm just done on the random. So my poor unfortunate character is just gone and forgotten. And that's probably the hardest, hardcore, shortest adventure, and I was ready for an all-night type adventure, ready to go. Side note, because it was a hardcore adventure, the DM was gracious. I was allowed to quickly roll up another character. Was not allowed to do a magic user because that got swallowed. So it's like, hey, the militia sent one more because we're not even into hour 1. If it was hour 1, too bad. But literally 13 minutes into the adventure at this point, I rolled up a monk, average stats, not that great. Had a blast playing it. But that was probably the worst misfortune I've ever had in AD&D, and literally the shortest character ever that I've played. The only saving grace was the stats were average, and normally I write up a bio for my characters and they get very intricate, so it's not like I spent like 2 days writing up my bio and sketching it out, or worse, painting a miniature ready to go, and like literally I was swallowed by a giant toad. So turning it over to the comments, your most unfortunate, we'll start an honored roll of the dead here in the comments. Your most unfortunate D&D characters of any adventure, and how long did they last? Can you beat my adventure?